Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the GIGABYTE GeForce RTX 4070 Super Eagle OC Ice 12G GPU. GIGABYTE did send me the sample, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this GPU or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Take a look at the retail box and packaging. Everything looks great. On the back side, we can learn more about its key features and tech specs, like its WINDFORCE cooling system. We also have RGB fusion, and we have our metal backplate construction. Now let's go ahead and let's open it up and see what's inside. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our quick guide here, complete with QR codes, and we have our hardware installation instructions, as well as different VGA connection options. All the information repeats in multiple languages, going over hardware installation and software installation. Next, you'll see we have our power supply cable adapter. Depending on which route you're going to go with your installation, they have you covered. And then last, but definitely not least, we have the GPU itself. Take a look at the front with the triple fan design, the Eagle logo and branding, our white plastic cover. Take a look at the top, GIGABYTE logo and branding, GeForce RTX. There's our 12-volt high power connector there. But again, don't worry, they have the adapter for you. Here's a look at this side with all of our different video output options. So we're going to have 3 display ports, 1 HDMI. Here's a look at the bottom of the card. Here's a look at the side. Here's a look at that metal backplate with the Eagle branding again, GIGABYTE GeForce RTX. That looks pretty sweet. I like the size of this card too. It's a little bit smaller than I thought it'd be with that triple fan design, which is great. Now let's go ahead, let's get it installed. All right, we have our test bench here where we're gonna be installing the GPU. So first thing we have to do is pull off the protective cover on the bottom. We're gonna line it up with the correct slot, and they're just gonna gently press it down in place. So line it up, press down. You might even hear a snap if you're lucky. Just like that, it clicked right in. Now you can take the 2 remaining screws, fasten them back in place, and connect your power cord and cable. In this case, we have just our 600-watt single power cable right here. We're going to line it up and then just gently snap it in place. There we go. We now have our GPU installed. We can peel off our protective cover right there, and let's go ahead and let's test it out. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty. How does this GPU perform? Well, as I was going through the benchmarks, I thought we would actually compare it to GIGABYTE's very own RTX 4070 Super Gaming OC. These GPUs are very, very similar to each other. Slightly different form factors, obviously the color design too, but we'll go through the data of this GPU and look at it through the lens of this very similarly priced and spec'd GPU within GIGABYTE's own lineup. They're actually within about $10 of each other, usually in regards to cost, with our white GPU being a little bit more expensive. Definitely have to have the premium there for white, right? Now we'll look at fans. You can see for yourself, each of these GPUs has 3 fans. VRAM, both feature GDDR6X and both are 12 GB. Next, we'll talk about boost clocks. You'll see that our GPU, the Eagle, has a slightly lower boost clock at 2535 compared to 2565, both 192 bits. So we'll see now going forward what that difference in boost clock actually equates to when we look at FPS values. Next, CUDA cores both have 7168 CUDA cores. That's going to be identical. In regards to length, our Eagle OC is going to be a little bit shorter. In regards to width, same thing, slightly thinner. And same thing in regards to height as well, a couple of millimeters difference. Now looking at power and a couple other key specs, we have our idle power both coming in at consuming 5 watts on our test bench. In regards to idle temps, very similar, 43 degrees Celsius versus 40. Idle memory temps, for those interested, 48 versus 44. And for the max power, with both being utilized 100% on our test bench, they both came in at 220 watts. And with the GPUs being stressed out, our max temp we got was 65 and 59 respectively. And our max memory temp, this one probably had the greatest difference between the two, 62 and 48 degrees Celsius. I'm not the expert, but I'm thinking that larger form factor and design is definitely aiding in the cooling of this GPU versus our Eagle OC. And in regards to max fan noise, both were identical at 47 decibels. Now it's time to look at some average FPS values. So first up with Nova Bench, 460 FPS compared to 468. Moving right along to Modern Warfare 3 at 1080p, 191 FPS compared to 195. 1440p, 142 compared to 143. And at 4K, 89 compared to 90 average FPS. So very close to each other. Next, we have our Modern Warfare 3 temps at 4K, 89 degrees Celsius for the Eagle compared to 90 for the Gaming OC. And our peak temp at 4K, 57 degrees Celsius compared to 50. Looking at Assassin's Creed, 165 FPS compared to 170, 128 FPS compared to 132 at 1440p, and at 4K, 76 FPS compared to 79. Rainbow Six, if you haven't caught a pattern yet, you'll see the performance across all different titles super similar. 300 FPS compared to 306 at 1080p, 205 FPS compared to 208 FPS at 1440p, and at 4K we have 106 FPS compared to 108 FPS. Far Cry 6, this is the only one in favor of the Eagle. I'm not sure why that's the case, but we picked up an extra almost 20 frames. Actually, I believe we picked up 22 extra frames for the Eagle OC at 1080p, but that gap narrows as we look at 1440p, 150 to 149, and then at 4K, the Gaming OC surpasses our Eagle by about 3 FPS. Forza 5, 1080p coming in at 173 FPS compared to 176. 1440p, 149 versus 152, and at 4K, 80 and 80. So a nice tie there. Borderlands 3, 1080p, 178 versus 177. So we get that 1 extra FPS boost there. 1440p, 122 versus 123. And at 4K, 64 versus 67. And Unigine Heaven, last but not least, 1080p, 217 versus 215. 128 versus 123. And 4K, we have 52 versus 54 FPS. So where's that leave us in regards to the Gigabyte RTX 4070 Super Eagle OC Ice 12G? Well, let me share with you my final thoughts. Here's what you need to know about this particular GPU. The value is there. The performance is great, in line with what we've come to expect with RTX 4070 Super GPUs. Build quality is top notch. We got RGB fusion. We have our WINDFORCE cooling system with triple fan design. You'll be hard pressed to find a better deal on a white RTX 4070 Super triple fan GPU, and everything else I just mentioned is bonus. So anyways, that's where this card's really going to excel. I also like the footprint too. It's a little bit smaller, slightly shrunk down from at least Gigabyte's other RTX 4070 Super. So it has a slightly smaller form factor, which is great depending on your case, your build, all that stuff. Hopefully that won't be the stumbling block of why you can't get this particular GPU. But if you're looking for a white, high-performing GPU, look no further. You're going to save a couple of bucks and really have a nice, sleek build with how this GPU looks.